Good evening. My name is Nigeria Chambers. I'm from Big Go Belt Media. Ben and Lauren, thank you so much for your time. Very excited to talk about this one, your new docuseries, Killer Lies, Crime of a Con Man, August 28th on Hulu. How you two doing today?
We're doing great. Thanks for having us.
That was like a proper intro. I feel like it was a boxing match about to go down. So let's go.
All right. Well, that's what we're here for. We're here for the action. First of all, I really got to say, absolutely fantastic job on this docuseries because I always say whenever I'm watching a documentary or docuseries, it is about either, being exposed to a subject matter or being re-educated or further educated on whatever it may be. And in this one, in this story that I'm sure like almost no one knew about, every single time I landed on a question, you all answered it. I just could not believe how I felt like no rock was unturned. So that's how I felt as the viewers. I'm wondering for you two, was there anything that you felt you could have dove a little deeper on, or was there any gaps that you felt like you missed? Is there anything that you felt like with given extra time you would have discussed?
Great question.
Well, thank you, first of all. I feel like, the kind of the approach that we took was a result of this like months long kind of rolling conversation, sparring match at times between Ben and me. And Ben definitely pushed me to go further. I mean, I had written the article first and then kind of passed the baton to Ben. He ran with it and had a lot of ideas about, the 360. It wasn't going to be like a shady 350 or 340. We were going to interrogate ourselves and our role in this like just as much as anybody else's. So it's first of all great to hear that you thought that worked and that it was interesting to you. Let's see. I mean, Ben, we've been like, I'm going to say dialoguing is the peaceful word, but we've been going back and forth on a lot of this stuff for more than a year
Yep.
now.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't know, what have we been talking about? Was there stuff like no,
I
we
mean,
were,
I think, I
that
think,
was
I
our
think
thing. It was about being honest and about being transparent. So I don't know if there was like a taboo that we were really trying to push past some of those.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think there was anything that we had to like. I mean, I think there's two things. There's two things that I think time would have allowed. There's like the concept of missing white woman syndrome and how historically white American women have been centered in true crime, right? That is the kind of the apex of privilege, and how stories of Black, Brown, indigenous victims, who often the preponderance of violent crime, abduction, missing, and Gwen Ifill like coined that phrase, and Soledad O'Brien was a mentee of Gwen Ifill, and so had we had more time to add that element in there, it is in there latently through Dahina C's story in episode 2. I think that becomes a much more of a socio-political analysis that was really important to us as a team to acknowledge. That has to come out a little more tacitly. I think if we had a little more space and could have woven it in a little more gracefully, we would have explored that further. And then I think, personally, it's not that we didn't unturn the stone, but it's more the mercurial, intrepid nature of it. Is that I don't still fully understand the spectrum between compulsion and premeditation in Bourgoin. And not that that becomes the most important thing in understanding a story like this, but just out of personal curiosity, when is he compulsively lying or aggrandizing or distorting the truth? And when is it this kind of calculated, manipulative, Hannibal Lecter side of things? And so I don't think I have a definitive answer. I'm not a psychologist, a psychiatrist. I'm not equipped or kind of educated enough to know that. But that is something that always is like stirring. I was always informing every kind of interaction with him. Is like constantly this chess match. Like Laura and I are colleagues, collaborators, friends, and had a real intellectual rigor on how to make this. Bourgoin's a contributor to the piece, and in our interviews, the chess match, the tension, the friction of who is manipulating who in an interview, back and forth, was something that was never fully resolved to me. I mean, I was always on guard that he was trying to soften his image, but at the same time, when was it genuine? When was it authentic? When was his guard down? When was it all part of calculation? So that would be the other area where can't say I know anything definitively there.
And just to
I
add, we
go
have to
for it.
remember too that just he took a master class in deception and in lying from interviewing serial killers, throughout all these years. So
Yeah.
we knew that we were just the chess match was a complex one.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up because I did have a flow of my questions, but this is something I had towards the end, and I'm glad you brought this up because I definitely wanted to talk on it and get to it just in case it was for the sake of time. I noticed, Ben, and I may be wrong here, but the first time you appear on camera is in the third episode. That's the first time.
On camera, but my off camera voice is heard from the
It's there
beginning.
exactly.
A thousand. Yeah, it's throughout, but you're right. The first time I'm revealed.
He's our big. We had to save him for the big reveal.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, obviously the voice of God there. I heard you the entire time, but you stepping in front of the camera, I felt something with that. I said I felt that Ben is frustrated. He's tired of whatever that Stéphane is trying to weave through and trying to soften his image. And I felt like you stepping in camera was you basically coming in front and saying, "I'm tired of the BS. What is this?" And you wanted to get to it. I'm curious though, because that's just my perception. What was your emotions to that, and why'd you felt it was important for you to be revealed in the way that you were?
Well, part of it was logistical, and a lot of it was intentional, right? So it was less of frustration or a kind of a calibrated like insertion of myself, but rather just really trying to walk the walk of accountability, right? Like I've acknowledged, like you heard me off camera. It felt cowardly just to be off camera, which is a trope in documentaries to hear the off. But I wanted to say, hey, look, I'm a face on this too. I'm, all of these subjects, contributors, Lauren especially, giving us and Bourgoin giving us their time, courage, respect to the camera, really at a generous pace. I felt I need to be accountable to that. So in the construction of that scene where I am revealed, I was operating the C camera that had Bourgoin's coverage. William Rouse, my DP, and Ben Carolyn, the other operator, were on easy rigs, which are mobile. They're not fixed on tripods. And the instruction, the direction was that if as an organic moment where I insert myself into the scene or ask an off-camera question, I want you to rotate your camera to cover me, reveal me, not just keep me as an off-camera voice. And that was the kind of like culmination, the idea of the meta culmination of the filmmaker's accountability and participation in both making the true crime piece, our contributions to the continued growth of that industry, as well as Lauren has really kind of astutely said is that our intention and hope and aspiration to expand the true crime genre, do something different with it, building upon the the hard work and an homage to our predecessors and colleagues, but add our own kind of layer and dimension to it that hadn't yet been kind of fully realized, and really trying to do that in a really intentional way.
Absolutely. Also going back to the third episode, I gotta tell you, Lauren, the moment you and Nadja as well too, the moment you two step and become a focal point in this docuseries, it really does change the game. And I do love earlier how you say even that we tried to hold ourselves accountable as well, because for the most part of this, we thought that like the fourth eye was like some majestic force coming together to give us the truth. And you even said like, hold on, wait a minute. While that may be some truth to that, they also play a part into this spectacle of true crime, how everybody sort of plays a part. And at that moment, I paused it. I said, now I have to assess everything in this now. I really did love that narrative of that in that perspective. It was entire. Now looking at anything now a little different. I want to ask you one really quick question. The Spanish woman that was in the photo, who was very much a subject in this, and I know you worked with her and her lawyer, and she very admirably did not want to be a part of this. I'm just curious, was there any other particular conversations that you had that you may be able to share about her and her story to this?
I can't say much since she didn't want to participate, but I kind of loved that she didn't.
Yeah, I did. I really did.
It was the ultimate flex for me, just for her to say, like, he had already stolen her image, projected all of these gruesome and violent things onto it. And for me, there was kind of a poetic justice in her saying, like, I want no part of this. So
yeah,
even though maybe it's not the kind of culmination that I don't know, maybe one could wish for something else. Just I would have liked to maybe learn more, just factually, but on a kind of level of karmic justice. I thought that was the ultimate response,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah,
Anonymity and refusal, and just what a better reaction to the exploitation of your image.
To Lauren's point, Lauren really helped me process that moment, right? Where I was, as a filmmaker, you want everything, right? And you're like, oh, we tried and compel and make our case. And Lauren was like, no, she's like, she has her own agency. It's bold. She's reclaimed her power in this story, and and it's consistent with what the intention of the piece is, to center the prerogative of the victim or the survivor. And she's like the kind of ultimate example of that, and really kind of walked the walk right there and said,
we talked a lot about
centering like Buddy Field,
centering victims' voices, but this was a case in which, like, once we gave it a little thought, I just thought, centering someone's just not wanting to participate. Refusal is also a form of power in this attention economy. So I was really rocked by that and found it really powerful and apt.
I absolutely love how you all celebrated that. That was completely beautiful, and unlike anything I've seen in any series, for someone to be able to reclaim their power in the fashion that she did. Now, really last question. I don't want to get too political here, but you have really mentioned this, and I feel like Ben was like reading my notes here. When you talk about Dahina's story here, she is labeled as a victim, and I'm wondering why that was the decision outside of labeling her as a survivor, as the constant theme of the 3 episodes has always been about the empowerment of these folks. And so the verbiage there is a little contradictory. Is this something that could be changed, or?
No, listen, great observation, incredible observation. And so interesting, because it ties right back to the previous point about centering the prerogative of the survivor or victim. And I say both words because, I made a film on post-traumatic stress disorder, in 2015, and, concentrated on a survivor of domestic violence and sexual assault. And the language around that point of victim really converting to, as I was making it, to survivor, right? That was the term of empowerment. In my mind, that's the new verbiage. That's the way we go forward with this. We posed that to Dahina. We asked Dahina, here, how do we want your lower third to read? We posed it as survivor, and she said, no, I'm a victim. And partially we're like, okay, is this a French cultural divide, syntactical difference? But we gave her the opportunity, and we were actually kind of like, without being condescending or patronizing about it,
I'm pretty sure I referred to her as a survivor in my original article without having put the question to her directly. So, but yeah, just to continue, Ben.
So it was her choice. So that language is her choice. And for an American audience, especially, an emerging, hopefully educated feminist audience, is understanding that term to be a little provocative, and like that sounds like that's the old phraseology for that. But that in the end was actually her choice, her words, and we respected that and rode with what she asked us to change it to. So we had actually intended it as survivor. All the offline edits, it was written as survivor, and then when we went to confirm with her, she's the one that converted it.
Thank you so much for that answer. Thank you so much for the time. I wish I had so much more time. I got so many more things I could talk about here. But in the meantime, folks, you can check out Killer Lies, Chasing a True Crime Con Man, coming to Hulu August 28th. Lauren, complete honor and pleasure today.
Thank you. Great work. Awesome work. Thank you.
Thank you.